Hi there, come and join us. We are approaching the East Cork village of Scartlay or Saleen. 200 years ago, this village was described as a sweetly secluded hamlet of about 30 whitewashed cottages. Saleen has changed a lot since then. On the one hand, it has grown greatly in wealth and population. On the other, it lacks the pub, the little bakery, and the 4 tiny shops that graced its street. But it still retains the precious core of its old values and traditions. A tricolour stands proudly over the entrance to the village. It is part of a fine granite and limestone memorial erected by the community's Monument Committee. This memorial is dedicated to local men and women who supported the struggle for national liberation during Ireland's War of Independence. A biodiversity garden attached to the memorial is nurtured by local community volunteers Nigel Condon and Jerry O'Brien. The Church of the Mother of God stands at the centre of the village. Built in the 1780s, it has served the people here for more than 2 centuries. It has an elegantly simple style and is a popular place of worship. We descend from Saleen to Paulnabiba or Saline Creek. This creek is an estuary of tidal mudflats that is home to numerous species of migratory birds. Crossing the estuary is the ruin of an old causeway known as the Mine Bridge. Silica sand, once mined nearby, was transported over this bridge for export. This nearby portal, Dalman, is an ancient tomb that probably dates back to the late Stone Age, 6,000 years ago. We are not sure why it is located at a spot that is almost completely covered by seawater at high tide. Ahead of us, we get glimpses of Cork Harbour, the second finest natural harbour in the world, but also, sadly, a harbour suffering from pollution and the threat of future pollution. Part of the old Rostellon estate is home to the Ahada GAA Club. This club boasts floodlit pitches, numerous facilities, and almost 500 members. That's success. Rostellon Castle has long since been demolished, but the skeletal remains of a small circular folly are still to be seen. This is called Mrs. Siddon's Tea Rooms. A famous London actress, Sarah Siddon, used to visit Rostellon and is reputed to have taken tea here. We now hover over and leave the former Rostellon estate. This was once home to successive Earls of Inchiquin, including the infamous but interesting 17th century Murragh, the Burner. We come across an old freshwater hand pump, but this one wasn't much use. It was built so close to sea level that it spouted out salt water at high tide. East Ferry Channel lies ahead. This was once a deep valley, gouged out of the land by a powerful, long-forgotten river. After the last ice age, the sea level rose and drowned part of the valley, turning it into a beautiful saltwater channel of Cork Harbour. This uniquely exquisite building is Holy Trinity Church. Perched at the edge of the channel, it dates back to 1867. We are now hovering over Marlogue, on the Great Island side of the channel. East Ferry gets its name from an ancient ferry that once plied between the east side of the Great Island here and the ferry slip on the mainland side. The historic ferry slipway is now coming into view. Beyond us we see Murph's restaurant and the ferry pier. Across on the island shore, East Grove reminds us of the past imprint of landed gentry on this area. This great house was built in 1815 by Dorcas Bagwell. The Bagwells were a large landlord family originally from Clonmel, County Tipperary. The village of Rathcorsi was once famed for fish and fishermen, and for boats called hookers and beamers and salmon yawls. The fish and fishermen are now gone, but the old village retains its charm and tranquility. A good place for these two mature gentlemen to enjoy a morning stroll. Near Saleen, at Gran Kenefake, there is an ancient graveyard within a circular roth within a grassy field. Do you remember images of Saleen Church at the beginning of this trip? Well, this graveyard once contained a tiny chapel that dated back to at least 1302, and that was probably the predecessor of Saleen Church. Grand Graveyard holds the remains of many of our ancestors. Ar yesh day go raibh an almancha díobh.